everyone. How's it going today? Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a great day, and none of it is because of me, which is like so cool. Two of my clients this week have gotten job offers. A third client has her last week of work this week because she got a new job. And for clients these clients have been looking for a long time. Not all of my clients are job seeking, but for the ones who are, there has been quite a struggle out there, as I'm sure you know if you're job hunting. And these are jobs that were applied for or networked for months. And there just was no movement. And all of a sudden, everything has come through. So I love that for my clients. It makes me so happy for them and the hard work that they've been doing. And yeah. And so it's a good day for me when my clients have success. How's your day going? If you're here, hop into the comments, come say hi. I am live on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So a little bit all over the place tonight. And I'm just here to tell some stories tonight. When I was early in my career, there were a lot of times where I just didn't stand for myself. And I didn't want to make waves. I was a people pleaser. I was like a little bit afraid of some of my bosses. I didn't know how the world worked. But there are two stories in particular that I think of when I think of not feeling equipped to stand for myself. And both of them now make me laugh. But they didn't in the moment. In the moment, I was really trying to be good and behave well, which, well-behaved women never made history, as I'm told. And they both taught me lessons about life and work and standing up for yourself. So the first question, or the first story is goes with my title of tonight's live, The Time I Sat with a Chicken Bone in My Mouth. And it was my first job out of college. It's not even on my resume anymore. It's not even on my LinkedIn profile, because when it was, I worked for a plastics association. And when it was on my profile, I kept getting job requests from recruiters for plastics related manufacturing type jobs. And so I was pleased when I had enough experience to take it off of my profile and my resume so that I would stop getting offers for, machinery, mold making, vinyl kinds of jobs. So first job out of college, my first very grown-up job. I had summer jobs in college and a couple of years in a row in an office. But I was learning how to be a grown-up profesh. So we are being taken out to lunch by the president of the association that I worked for. And I have since learned, moving into the rest of my 20s, into my 30s and my 40s, that the president of an organization is still just a regular human being, like you are, like I am. But at the time, not only did I think the president was a big deal and that I should be intimidated by him, but his particular setup in our office was intimidating in and of itself. Partly, I think, because he was a little bit self-important, and partly because the office had previously been some sort of top secret clearance office. So his office was at the end of the hall. He had a corner office, clearly, because, president and CEO. He had a corner office with bulletproof windows and walls, which I think was a product of whatever top secret clearanced government agency had been housed there at some point. In front of his office was his assistant's office. which also had bulletproof glass doors. And in front of her office was her assistant's office. So like, if you're an assistant who has an assistant, that felt like real big time to me back in my new professional days. And so we get told that Larry, the president, is going to take our team out to lunch. And this one woman says, hey, what do you eat? What don't you eat? What do you like? What don't you like? And I said, I really don't like spicy food. So like, I would prefer if we go to a restaurant that's like Italian or American or seafood, like any of that feels okay to me. When we get into foods that tend to have more spice, I get nervous about like what I'm going to eat. So she says, okay. And she said, you probably can find something at any restaurant. I said, I probably can, but I recently went for Indian food and they only had like spicy stuff on the menu. They didn't really have, and this is back in the 1900s. So there was a lot less variety on a menu. And I said, and I couldn't really find anything. And I don't eat curries. And so like, if you could just avoid like that as the cuisine, like I would feel comfortable finding something on the menu anywhere. And lo and behold, she set up a reservation at an Indian restaurant. And, now I know, and I'm confident that I could go into any restaurant and say like, look, I eat a kind of bland diet. Can you bring me something that has very little spice? But back then I thought I had to be agreeable. I had to find something. And I was willing to. I wanted to like be part of the team and, be part of this lunch. So we go out to this lunch and the waiter comes over to take our order. And I said to him quietly, I don't eat any spicy foods. Is there anything that you can bring me that's just like plain chicken? And this was a very fancy restaurant in downtown DC. And he was so kind. And he said, of course, ma'am, of course, I will bring you some plain chicken with just honey, light honey sauce on it. Perfect. Oh, it was like, he really got me. So the lunch comes and we start eating, and I'm so relieved to have just plain honey chicken on my plate. And the chicken wasn't bad. It was good. It was like, I would have gone back there. And in my second bite of food, I got a bone in my mouth, chicken bone. And I'm sort of trying to figure out what to do with this bone because it's too big to swallow. It's larger than like even a fish oil pill, which at the time I probably wouldn't have known the size of, but I'm in my 40s, I take fish oil. And I have this bone in my mouth and I don't want to be rude. And we have cloth napkins and cloth tablecloths. So there's not really a place for me to remove the bone into. If I put it in my cloth napkin, it's just going to fall on the floor and that's awkward. And I didn't know like what I was allowed to do. I'm 21 years old. I'm brand new to the grown-up work world. And nobody ever talked to me about lunch etiquette. So I thought maybe I'll go to the bathroom and I'll spit it out in the bathroom and then it'll all be over. But nobody else had gotten up to go to the bathroom. So I didn't know if I was allowed to get up and go to the bathroom or if that would seem rude. Looking back on it, even like 3 years later, I was like, what? Of course I'm allowed to go to the bathroom. Like, what? What is that? But this stuck with me for a while, this question of like what I was allowed to do etiquette wise, how human I was allowed to be in the work world. So I ate the rest of that lunch with a chicken bone tucked into my cheek. I can still feel it. Sometimes some memories you have are just so tactical that I can still feel the bone in my jaw. And I didn't tell anyone that story like for a couple of years because I was embarrassed that I didn't know what to do with the bone. I told my best friends, right? But like not people at work. Of course, going out after that to lunch a million times for business reasons, it is perfectly normal to get up and go to the bathroom. It is perfectly normal, if not a little ick, to put something into your napkin that does not agree with your mouth. It's perfectly normal to excuse yourself if you don't want to spit into your napkin and instead you want to go to the bathroom and spit it out in the trash there. It's not perfectly normal to eat a chicken bone. So that part was not great. But it was a good lesson for me in thinking about what are my needs as a human being, as a reasonable human being, right? I wasn't going to like run out of the restaurant screaming, but what are my needs as a reasonable human being and how do they fit into work etiquette? And so I learned to start paying attention to what other people did. I also, in that job, was expected to get alcoholic beverages with lunch. And I knew that was not the norm. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew that was not the norm. And in my second job after college, which was Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we went out to lunch. On my very first day, we were taken out to lunch. And everybody ordered sodas and iced teas and waters. And I was so relieved because I really didn't like drinking in the middle of the day. But I had a boss at the plastics organization that just assumed everybody would have 2 glasses of wine with lunch, and he would end off lunch with a Grand Marnier. So, the norms were a little wonky. The second story also has to do with etiquette and being allowed to be human at work. And I had gone to a client meeting. This was when I was working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I was working in our business-to-business leasing department. And we had a client meeting. I was working in Maryland. Our client meeting was in Virginia. I printed out the MapQuest, so you can imagine how long ago this was. I printed out the MapQuest for our drive down, and MapQuest led us to a guardrail with a cliff. So an imperfect mapping system indeed. And we get out of the car to try to figure out where we are at the top of this cliff that thankfully we did not drive off of because both of us saw that it was a dead end. And we look down and we see, not in walking distance because it's so far down a steep mountainside, basically, we see the building that we're supposed to be in. My boss is furious with me, furious. Could not believe how angry he was. Red face, purple face, angrier and angrier. Now we're going to be late. And did you even bring the right paperwork? Do I have to check everything? Like very mean, very, very uncool about it. And it was like, I don't know, maybe my first or second month in that department. So like, go easy, guy, right? That was a lesson I learned. Like, I already was pretty nice to people, but like be nice to people and give a little grace when people are coming into their jobs. And so we get to the client, we are right on time, and I have to go to the bathroom. And I did not ask to go to the bathroom because we were right on time. We were not early. And there was this sort of feeling that if I had asked for anything, that my boss would have told me it was inappropriate. And this was like probably 2 years after the chicken bone incident. So I clearly now have a pattern of not knowing what I'm allowed to do for my personal needs. And so we go in, we meet with the client, meeting goes so-so. Some of my paperwork was a little bit wrong. I had an assistant who had also applied for the job I got internally, and she was mad that she didn't get the job. And so I learned about sabotage and how to protect myself in that job as well. But we finished the meeting. We promised the client that we're going to correct the couple of issues on the paperwork and send it over to him for signature. He is kind as can be. You can tell he's a guy with a temper. But he's kind as can be. He understands that I'm new. He's told me it's a pleasure to have met with me, and he's excited to see the paperwork and sign everything. And as we go to leave, I ask the receptionist where the restroom is. And she sends me to the restroom. I use the restroom, and then we leave. And my boss said to me, "How dare you ask to use the restroom after a performance like that?" And I was floored, because here I am building my career, trying to understand what etiquette is, not thinking it's a big deal to ask to go to the bathroom, which of course it is not a big deal to ask to go to the bathroom in an office or at lunch or anywhere that you are. And he berated me for taking care of my personal needs while whatever was going on with our work meeting. So what I learned from both of these situations was, one, you always get to take care of yourself. You don't have to apologize for needing to use the bathroom. You don't have to apologize for stepping away for a moment to take care of personal needs. You just get to be a human. And if that means you end a meeting early because you're not feeling well, if that means you call in sick for mental or physical health day, if that means that you excuse yourself in the middle of a meeting to run to the restroom, to take an emergency phone call, you are allowed to be a human person even while you're working. Shocking, right? This carries into our current day and time, right? Where the clients that I work with, we are people pleasers. Inherently, we are people pleasers. And we want to make everybody around us comfortable, but we don't assume that we get the same right to comfort that everybody else gets. Like, we're here to please, we somehow think, and everybody else is here to receive. And it's just not true. It's a lie we tell ourselves. And nobody thinks for 2 seconds if you excuse yourself to go take care of something, some kind of need that you need to take care of. Nobody gets mad if you're 3 minutes late to a meeting, as long as you're not always the dude who's 3 minutes late to a meeting. Nobody gets mad if you need to cancel, reschedule, ask for help, ask for support. And if they do, then it's more likely that they are the jerk than that you are the inappropriate asker for those things. What I later, came to know about this manager who yelled at me for having the wrong MapQuest directions and for asking to use the bathroom in a place where they had a bathroom I could use, was that he was a jerk all around. He is the same manager, if you've seen this post, who came to my desk on September 11th, 2001, and asked me if we were going to get any work done today while I was on email, my landline, and my cell phone trying to figure out where everybody in my family and friend group who were living in the New York area were, and came to my office and said, "Hey, we going to get any work done today, or are we just going to do this all day?" So if somebody shows you they're a jerk right up front, they are. That's the second lesson. First lesson is you get to take care of your personal needs. Second lesson is if somebody shows you that they're a jerk, they are. And he showed me right up front. And if he had come to me later that day and said, "Hey, look, sorry, I was stressed about the meeting. I was nervous about it, or I was worried about it, or we've messed up with this client before, and I took it out on you and I apologize," I would have accepted that and moved on. But instead, he sort of held it at me, and then piled on whatever else he didn't want to be nice about. And the third lesson is presidents and CEOs. I am now a CEO. Presidents and CEOs are regular people. There's nothing special about a guy who sits behind an assistant who has an assistant who sits behind bulletproof glass. We are all special. We are all equal. And we all have the right and responsibility to assert what we need, to ask for what we need, to network in a way that feels good for us, to talk about what our strengths are, to talk about what we're good at, what our skills are, and to apply for what we want, to get what we want, to ask for the promotions and the raises and the boundaries that we deserve, and to really look out for ourselves in the best way possible so that we are equipped to look out for other people. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the topic of that sort of perceived relationship between manager and employee versus everybody being a peer. So come back for that tomorrow. I'm not sure yet what time I'll be going live, but I will be going live. So you can either watch it live or you can watch the replay. But we will be talking about the relationship of human to human in the work world. Thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing night, and I will see you tomorrow.